Next. Behind this reunion selfie lies an untold story of time, fame, loss, and the lasting legacy of The Godfather 1972. There are some films that feel legendary, and then there are films that feel older than legend. They do not simply age into classics. They become inheritance, passed from one generation to the next. Quoted, studied, feared, admired, and carried almost like family history, even by people who were not alive when the film first appeared. That is what The Godfather became. Not just a gangster movie, not just a Hollywood masterpiece, not just the story of the Corleone family moving through weddings, funerals, business deals, betrayals, and blood. It became a language of power, a language of fathers and sons, of loyalty and punishment, of dignity used as performance, of love twisted by duty, of silence made sacred. And maybe that is why the then and now image feels so powerful here. Al Pacino standing beside the Michael Corleone of 1972. Still quiet, still careful, still standing just outside the center of the family, not yet fully consumed by it. Diane Keaton looking back at Kay, the woman who thought she was loving a man, before realizing she was being drawn into a system. Talia Shire facing Connie again, at first dismissed, overlooked, underestimated, and then slowly revealed as one more soul shaped by the family's violence. Robert Duvall looking back at Tom Hagen, the adopted son who understood the machinery, even when he could never fully inherit the throne. And in the deeper shadows of the frame, Marlon Brando, James Caan, John Cazale, the men the years have already taken. That is why this reunion image does not feel like ordinary nostalgia. It feels ceremonial. Because The Godfather was never merely about crime. It was about succession. About what power does when it enters a family and is mistaken for duty. About what happens when love and loyalty stop being separate things. About what happens when a son who begins with distance ends by becoming the most complete expression of the very world he once observed from the outside. That is what makes the film immortal. When it arrived in 1972, it did not just succeed. It dominated. At the Oscars, it won Best Picture, Best Actor for Marlon Brando, and Best Adapted Screenplay for Mario Puzo and Francis Ford Coppola. At the box office, it became an enormous hit. Box Office Mojo's current worldwide total for the film, including later releases and reissues, stands at about $243.9 million. And the Library of Congress later selected it for the National Film Registry, a sign not just of popularity but of permanent cultural standing. Those are the achievements. Those are the official monuments. The trophies. The grosses. The institutional recognition. But that is not why The Godfather survived. It survived because it gives people all six of the deepest things audiences want from great stories. It gives emotion, grief, pride, fear, humiliation, tenderness, vengeance. It gives meaning, about family, masculinity, ethnicity, capitalism, legitimacy, corruption, and moral decay. It gives attraction, that magnetic pull of a world so controlled, so dangerous, and so emotionally charged that viewers cannot look away. It gives beauty, candlelight, wood-paneled rooms, wedding music, tailored suits, orange light, dark interiors, and the solemn choreography of power. It gives connection, because even viewers far removed from organized crime understand family obligation, disappointment, inheritance, and silence. And it gives afterglow, though with this film, that afterglow feels more like a long echo, a grave one, a powerful one, a feeling that stays in the room long after the scene ends. That is why Michael Corleone matters so much. Because Michael is one of cinema's greatest transformations. He does not begin as a monster. He does not even begin as a willing heir. He begins as distance. He is intelligent, reserved, decorated by military service, able to stand at his sister's wedding and tell Kay, almost casually, that this world belongs to his family, not to him. And that line is one of the reasons the film cuts so deep. Because we already know, even if he does not, that the real tragedy of Michael Corleone is not that he was born into the family. It is that he becomes the family. Al Pacino played that transformation with terrifying patience. He does not lunge toward power. He narrows into it. His face grows quieter. His voice grows colder. His soul grows less available. And that is why imagining present-day Pacino beside 1972 Michael feels so moving. Because it is not just an actor revisiting a famous role. It is a man standing beside one of cinema's purest portraits of moral contraction. Pacino remains active, with IMDb listing recent and current projects including In the Hand of Dante, Easy's Waltz, and Dead Man's Wire in the mid-2020s. That makes the then and now image here feel less like goodbye and more like a reckoning with the role that permanently changed his place in film history. Then there is Vito Corleone. And here the feeling changes completely. Because Marlon Brando does not play Vito like a simple tyrant. He plays him like a patriarch who has learned to wrap violence in ritual. Vito is soft-spoken, measured, courteous, almost tender. And that is precisely what makes him formidable. He does not need to perform power loudly. He has already become the kind of man other people organize themselves around. That is one of the film's central truths. True authority in The Godfather rarely shouts. It receives. It judges. It remembers. It grants favor. It collects debt. It waits. Brando's Oscar win for the role confirms the immediate force of the performance, but the deeper reason it lasts is that Vito feels larger than crime. He feels like old-world patriarchy itself, protective, strategic, affectionate, and quietly ruthless. Brando died in 2004, which makes any imagined reunion image with him immediately elegiac. Then there is Sonny. James Caan gave Sonny the energy of exposed nerve, heat, temper, impulse. A man who seems born to command presence, and doomed by the very speed of his blood. Sonny matters because he shows what Michael is not. He is visible. He is loud. He is emotionally legible. He makes the mistake of letting power run through his body before it has been cooled by discipline. That contrast is essential. Without Sonny, Michael's later stillness would not feel so chilling. Without Sonny, the film would lose one of its clearest demonstrations. That in this family, love and violence are often separated only by timing. James Caan died on July 6, 2022, at 82, according to AP. So when we picture him standing beside Sonny now, the image no longer feels like a playful reunion. It feels like memory itself, putting on a suit and coming back into the room. And then there is Fredo. John Cazale did something almost impossible in this world. He made weakness unforgettable. In a film full of men performing command, Fredo is the ache of inadequacy. He wants respect. He wants place. He wants to matter. But he moves through the family like someone already aware that he was not built for its standards. That is what makes him so painful. Fredo is not merely the lesser brother. He is the human cost of a family system that distributes love unevenly and confuses usefulness with worth. John Cazale died from lung cancer in March 1978, at 42, before The Deer Hunter was released. That fact gives every Godfather reunion fantasy a layer of sadness, because Cazale remains one of the most haunting presences in 1970s American film. Kay Adams is just as important to the film's afterlife, because Diane Keaton gives the story one of its clearest moral mirrors. Kay is not there merely to react. She is there to witness the distance between what Michael says and what Michael becomes. That is why she matters so much. In a film full of men protecting the family myth, Kay is one of the few people who keeps testing it against ordinary ethical reality. She brings the outside world into the frame. A world where murder is not strategy, where family does not excuse secrecy, where love cannot survive infinite denial. And because Keaton plays Kay with intelligence rather than innocence, the role holds much more than the woman on the outside. She becomes one of the story's clearest measures of loss. Diane Keaton's IMDb page continues to list recent work including Summer Camp and Arthur's Whiskey, and additional project development has been reported in the mid-2020s. That means the then and now image here is not about disappearance. It is about a witness standing beside the woman who had not yet fully seen the darkness she was entering. Robert Duvall's Tom Hagen gives the film another kind of emotional gravity. Tom is not the blood son, and that matters. He is the strategist, the lawyer, the man inside the family, but not entirely of it. That in-between status makes him one of the film's most fascinating presences. Tom understands the system. He can help maintain it. He can speak its language of caution and order. But he is also the reminder that power in this world is never only about intelligence. It is about blood, name, position, myth. Tom is indispensable. And still, he is limited. That is one of the cruelest truths in The Godfather. Being loved by a family is not always the same as being fully included within its deepest logic. Duvall's later career became one of the most respected in American film. In public databases and current listings, he appears less active now than Pacino or Keaton, while Talia Shire still appears in newer works such as Nanas, 2025. So the then and now concept here can honestly be framed as a mix. Some of the family are still working, some have stepped back, and some now live mainly in memory. That is the larger emotional shape of The Godfather today. Who is still active? Al Pacino is still active. Diane Keaton is still active. Talia Shire still appears in newer work. Some other principal figures, like Robert Duvall, are better described now as legendary elders whose recent on-screen activity is far more limited. And several of the faces most closely tied to the film's emotional myth, Marlon Brando, James Caan, and John Cazale most obviously, are gone. That combination makes the reunion image extraordinarily potent, because it is not only youth versus age. It is continuity versus absence. Inheritance versus mortality. A living dynasty of performances, set against the reality that time has already taken some of the men who made that dynasty possible. And now comes the larger question. Has any film surpassed The Godfather? If we are talking about box office alone, of course many films have earned more. If we are talking about raw awards totals, there are films with broader Oscar hauls. If we are talking about technical innovation or modern franchise scale, cinema has changed many times since 1972. But if we are talking about cultural authority, about the way a film enters common language, about the way characters become archetypes, about the way one work can define not only a genre but an idea of American prestige filmmaking, then The Godfather becomes very difficult to surpass. Because it does not merely survive as a title. It survives as gravity. It shaped the gangster film. It shaped the family saga. It shaped the visual and emotional vocabulary of cinematic power. Its registry status at the Library of Congress confirms its institutional permanence, but its deeper permanence is cultural. Viewers still return to it not out of obligation, but out of awe. And that may be the true value at the center of The Godfather. Not that power corrupts. That is too simple. Not that family matters. That is too sentimental. Something more painful than either. That family can become the very mechanism through which corruption is justified. That love can be used to demand obedience. That tradition can disguise brutality. That dignity can become theater. That a son can inherit not just an empire, but the moral damage required to preserve it. That is why the film still cuts so deep. Because even people far from the world of the Corleones understand inheritance. The expectations we did not choose. The silence we were taught to honor. The roles we told ourselves we would never become. And the terrifying moment when we realize we have already stepped farther into them than we ever intended. That is why the selfie with time concept works so perfectly here. If Pacino, Keaton, Shire, Duvall, and the lost giants around them could all stand in one impossible frame. If Michael, Kay, Connie, Tom, Vito, Sonny, and Fredo could all face the years together, it would not simply be a reunion photo. It would be a family portrait of inheritance, a portrait of youth beside burden, of fathers beside sons, of women beside the systems that tried to define them, of the living beside the dead, of power beside the cost it never stops collecting. And maybe that is the final legacy of The Godfather. It did not merely show men taking power. It showed what power asks in return. It asks silence. It asks loyalty. It asks blood. It asks the soul slowly in pieces, until the man who once stood outside the family becomes the one who closes the door. So if one day these actors really stood shoulder to shoulder, with the younger selves the camera preserved in 1972, Al Pacino with Michael, Diane Keaton with Kay, Talia Shire with Connie, the living and the lost in the same impossible room, the image would say more than nostalgia ever could. It would say, here is what family can protect. Here is what family can destroy. Here is what time takes away. And here is what art can preserve. Long after the door has closed, the love remains. The fear remains. The silence remains. The power remains. The grief remains. And most of all, the inheritance remains. What do you think is the true heart of The Godfather? Family loyalty, the seduction of power, Michael's transformation, or the cost of inheritance? Which character feels the most haunting to you when you imagine their younger and older versions standing side by side? Do you think any film has truly surpassed The Godfather in cultural authority and lasting cinematic legacy, or does it still stand above the rest?